rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. Tory MP Nadine Dorries has resigned her common seat, accusing the Prime Minister of demeaning his office by opening the gates to whip up a public frenzy against her. In her resignation letter, Ms Dorries accused Mr Sunak of abandoning the fundamental principles of conservatism and said history will not judge you kindly. She declared in June that she would leave her Mid-Bedfordshire seat with immediate effect, but despite this, she went on to try to find out why she was refused a seat in the House of Lords. It was thought she would get a peerage in Boris Johnson's resignation honours list. She'd been coming under increased pressure to step down since June. Now, the society's most depraved killers will face life behind bars with no chance of being released under new plans announced by the Prime Minister. Judges will be required to hand down mandatory whole-life orders to those who commit the most horrific types of murder, except in extremely limited circumstances. It's the latest move to protect the public from the most dangerous offenders. The law change will also, for the first time, make this the default sentence for any sexually motivated murders. The Metropolitan Police say they were on red alert tonight after details of officers and staff were hacked in a huge security breach. Thousands of staff were warned of the risk their photos, names and ranks had been stolen when cyber hackers got into the IT systems of a contractor, printing warrant cards and staff passes. The Met has said that the company who hacked the systems did not hold personal information, such as addresses, phone numbers or financial details. It comes after the details of 10,000 police officers and staff in Northern Ireland had their information published online by mistake. Most of Spain's coaching staff has resigned following the conduct of Luis Rubiales at the Women's World Cup final. Rubiales is currently suspended by FIFA from all football-related activities as he's accused of grabbing star player Jenny Hermoso's head and kissing her on the lips following Spain's victory. He said it was a spontaneous and consensual little peck and said false feminists were trying to kill him. Spain's coach Jorge Vilda has called the behaviour improper and unacceptable. And the RMT union says a roadmap to a negotiated settlement could bring an end to their ongoing dispute over pay, jobs and conditions. Today's train strikes, continuing for a second year, come as many people head off on their summer holidays or travel to events such as the Notting Hill Carnival. Well, there's more disruption to come as the RMT is also planning a strike on September the 2nd, while members of the ASLEV union are taking strike action on September the 1st. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying Play GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Sunday's papers. I'm your host, Andrew Doyle, and tonight I'm joined by international man of misery, Lewis Schaefer, and all-round breath of fresh air, Cressida Wetton. I like to get a contrast with the panellists, and I believe that I've achieved that tonight, very much so, don't you think?
I am the international man of misery. I've been miserable everywhere I go.
And are you going to be curmudgeonly tonight? You're going to be a bit more peppy?
I probably am. And you know what it is? I think the people see me being miserable, coming from a great country, being a successful human being, and then they makes them happy.
Well, I love the fact that Lewis thinks he's a successful human being. I think that's wonderful. It's not true, but it's wonderful. So we're going to move on and have a look at the front pages for Sunday. The Mail is leading with secret Labour plan to charge drives by mile. Not sure what that means. The Sunday Telegraph has Reeves no wealth tax under Labour. The Sunday Times has a damning email told of chaos on Letby ward. The Sunday Express, PM, life to mean life for vilest killers. The Sunday Mirror has Letby's bosses get out of jail free card. And the Daily Star has something very odd, put your little Johns away, something to do with the nudists in Sherwood Forest. And those were your front pages. OK, Lewis, what's going on with the Mail on Sunday front cover? What are they leading with?
Well, the really bad news, secret Labour plan to charge drivers by the mile, as if ULEZ wasn't bad enough, where they're just trying to make people get rid of their supposedly polluting cars. What they want to do is they want to basically track everybody who's driving anywhere in the entire country.
Basically they're rolling out a more sort of sophisticated system of detection. They can tell how much pollution you're emitting.
Yeah.
How do they do that? I don't like
Well, they might know what your car is. They know how big your car engine is, probably, and maybe the last time it's been tuned. It's very spooky because it's like you can't be able to cheat on your girlfriend or anything because they're going to know.
You're being monitored.
Yeah, everybody.
Lewis,
That's the concern.
I don't think that's what they're actually attempting to. You're very paranoid, Lewis. Cressida, now. Labour, of course, have been accused of effectively wanting a carless society.
Yes.
The Mayor of London is saying that effectively he wants 80% of all trips within London to be basically on foot by 2041. So is that what's going to happen here? Are they going to get away with that?
Well, they're going to make a lot of money, aren't they? I mean, there's fantastic opportunity here. We're going to measure what you do and tell you what you owe us for it. That's fantastic.
Well, they can't lie about it. I mean, they've got tariffs and they've got...
But they can't lie about it.
They can choose the tariffs, can't they?
Politicians never lie.
Right, they never
lie. The point about this is that, obviously, if this does roll out, I think that's the fear, isn't it? So now they're extending ULEZ to Greater London. So, you know, it's bad enough being in the middle, but it's...
Yes.
And, of course, it is going to be workers who are going to suffer the most, the people with haulage vehicles, that
and it's not just in London. And we're sitting here thinking, oh, this is kind of a weird London-centric way of thinking that we think it's just London,
and it's not
but it's in Bradford, it's in Portsmouth.
It's not just travel, is it? Because eventually you can get into the social credit stuff, and you can get extra points for being a small driver or a
non-driver.
Yeah, we're going to end up like China, is what you're saying. Nothing alarmist on this show. That's where we're going. OK, we're going to move on now to the front cover of the Sunday Telegraph. Cressida, you've got this one.
I'm finally out of here, says Doris. So Nadine Dorries is finally leaving after 10 weeks. She said she'd go 10 weeks ago. She's on her way. And I have to say, what a hero. I mean, she's been earning all that time while she's been dragging her feet. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
She's definitely moonlighting. She has a number of irons in various fires.
Yeah.
Well, who hasn't? Or let me just speak for myself. I have stayed at a job way longer, been totally unproductive. Where I've done basically, what do they call that? It's a strike. It's kind of like a non-work strike.
Yeah.
And I have.
This is your most believable story yet.
Well, this is totally true. Look at me. What am I doing here?
Now look, let's talk about Nadine Dorries or Mad Nad, as people call her for some reason. Not very nice, that.
Yeah.
But the thing about this is it really going to rock the party? She's no Robin Cook. It's not like her resignation is going to shake the foundation.
It will a little bit, because there's going to be another by-election, and right now this is the lowest ebb for the Tories.
From Nadine Dorries, I mean, the point about Nadine Dorries, I mean, God love her, but she really wants to be a celebrity rather than a politician. She went on to I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which kind of confirms it. She wants to be a novelist, a TV presenter, a columnist, all those sort of things. She doesn't really want to be a politician, does she? What?
Don't we all want to be celebrities?
I have no interest in fame.
No interest in fame.
You love being recognised on the street. You live for it.
Totally. I was recognised today by Barney over in Wetherspoons in Henley.
Are you just making this up?
No, totally true. You go to my Twitter thing. I took his picture, his thing there.
Yeah, but
shout out to Barney.
So you think that there's something noble about Nadine Dorries?
No, I don't think there's anything normal.
Is.
But it's like, the saying. The saying is that politics is Hollywood for ugly people. And I'm not saying she's ugly.
I don't think she's ugly.
I don't think she's ugly.
No, she's not ugly at all. But Cressida, what about this idea of her criticisms of Rishi Sunak? I mean, she's effectively saying that he's not really got a Conservative government at all. She also points out that he didn't win any votes. She calls him unelected. She calls it a zombie parliament.
She's causing as much trouble as she can on the way out. She's slamming the door and taking all the stationery. It's very soap opera-y, isn't it? So if she's going for celebrity, I think she's doing a fantastic job.
Exactly right. Yeah. She's one of those people, when they resign, they just trash the office on their way out and they tell the boss what they really think of them. I don't like those people. I think you need a bit of integrity, a bit of dignity as you walk out the door.
As they go to another job, and the other job finds out about it, and they don't want
well, exactly.
But she
That's
said
a very
something.
good point.
She said something which every British person said, which is this prime minister is not elected. He's unelected. But no prime minister in a parliamentary system is elected. So I wish the British people would just be quiet about this unelected business. It isn't run that way. It's a parliamentary system. Nobody votes for.
No, well, that's a technicality.
Yes,
It's an actuality. What?
Some people are less unelected than others, aren't they?
Yeah, because so you can say that people didn't vote for this candidate while he was there.
No, but you can say, for instance, that Theresa May won an election when she was at the helm of the party and accrued the most seats.
Yes, she won an election, but only the people in her. There's only two types of people who voted for her.
Only the people in Maidenhead voted directly for Theresa May.
Yes, and the parliamentary party.
OK. I take your point. It's a bit pedantic, but I can take the point. We're going to move on to the cover of the Sunday Mirror now, Lewis. What are they leading?
Well, this is a story that may not end. I hope it doesn't end. It's let be bosses get out of jail card free, and it's a story about this guy Ian Harvey, who is the head of the Countess of Chester Hospital, which is up there in Chester.
Yes.
And he basically had to be badgered by pediatricians telling him he had to do something about this woman who was possibly killed. I know she's been.
People have said that people are dragging their heels.
Yeah, that they're dragging their heels.
Now, look, the truth is we don't know. They're calling for an inquiry. That would strike me as a very sensible thing to do at this point.
Absolutely.
So we have some.
There was an inquiry, but that inquiry was behind closed doors when Lucy Letby was put on trial. But the fact is, with this country, this is a great country. Louis Schaefer loves this country. My kids live in this country. I live in this country. But there's a lack of openness.
Right.
And that if the trial was broadcast, every everyone would know what was going on in at least one hospital in the NHS, and there wouldn't be these questions. All of a sudden, it's released. Lucy Letby is guilty. We hadn't heard anything about it for 4 years.
You think there should be public access to the trial? Well, there is. I mean, you can go to the trial and
you
sit
can
in
go
the
to the
gallery.
trial, but we're not allowed to even talk about while the trial's going on. Are we not?
No, of course we shouldn't.
What do you mean, of course? In America, they are. Don't say, of course, they are.
Well, it's different rules. We have contempt of court laws.
Right, which is wrong.
We're sort of getting off topic here, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
President,
think-
the point here is that surely an inquiry is sensible. It's obviously a horrendous situation, and of course, nobody will have known that this was going on. But
But it's the tone of it. At this point, I feel like Mr. Harvey should be a bit more humble. And he's come back and said, well, they didn't chase me up. They told me once. And this thing he says, it's surprising given the level of concern some of the paediatricians professed having had at the time. There was no follow-up. They didn't chase me. I mean, I think that's just not...
OK, well, look, we're going to move on now to the Daily Star. Now, the Daily Star are really bucking the trend of the front covers on Sunday, aren't they, Cressida? What the hell is this story about?
Put your little Johns away, which is not a word I'd heard...
You sound so disapproving as you say it. You just think this is beneath you.
No, I think it's a very good point. I don't want to be walking in the woods and come across a bunch of naturists.
These aren't Robin Hood-themed naturists.
No, it's just in Sherwood Forest.
It's just naturists in Sherwood Forest,
Although,
right?
I mean, that could be a subgroup. I don't know. If it's not out there, start it. They'll come. I don't know.
The guy on the front cover of the Star here has a hat on. And as far as I'm concerned, that means he's not a nudist. He's not a naturist. Because if you're wearing a hat, you're by definition not nude.
Do you know what? Most nudists actually walk around having towels. They actually have towels.
Well, they're frauds.
No, they're not frauds because they have to sit down on somebody's couch with their naked bodies. That's why they carry the towel.
Well, the human body isn't filthy, I think...
Well, it can be filthy.
Well, it can be, but...
That's not filthy, but you'd have the towel.
Well, look, what was surprised me about all of that, there's been quite a few stories about nudists and naturists recently. I didn't realise it's legal. Like, it's totally legal to wander around naked. You should come into work naked one night.
Is it legal?
Why don't you come into headliners naked next time?
I sent a picture of me with the hair kind of half naked.
Yes, I opened Twitter the other day and it was just there. I'm pro trigger warning.
I said it was me.
Why didn't you put not suitable for work before you tweeted that?
You know what it was? It wasn't even me. It was my account was hacked. Did I say it was me?
No, that's what everyone...
I think you and Nadine Dorris should team up.
I'm not
PR agency.
I tell you something. I've become so good looking, but I'm not good looking enough to be.
Do you know what? Before they show a picture of you semi-naked, we're going to end this section. But coming up in the next part, we've got racist cops, migrant flops, and FA chops. See you in a couple of minutes.
Very good.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Andrew Doyle. I'm still here with little Louis Schaefer and the acceptable face of womankind, Cressida Wetton. We're going to kick off with The Independent on Sunday. I see the migrant crisis has been resolved.
You know what? The last time I think we were together, I said we shouldn't be discussing the migrant crisis because it's basically stagnated. There's no consensus. Anyway, just 2 migrants deported to EU under post-Brexit deal. It was a deal which I didn't even know about that said in 2021 that said any migrant that's been deemed to have come from a safe country, not a dangerous place, so they're not like an asylum seekers because they've been in a safe country, could be returned.
Well, that's the point. Is that it's not even the country of origin. It's if they've gone through
it.
So any of the migrants who've gone through France, for instance, I mean, France is on the whole a safe country, right? It depends where you go.
We could define
but that, you know, the fact that only 2. I mean,
what did they do? They must feel really special, mustn't they? Those 2 people. Everyone else is allowed.
I mean, what bad luck. The point is, they said there's 173,000 on a waiting list to be adjudicated.
So you're saying it's just bureaucracy? It's just an administration?
Yeah, right. But we don't know. There's no even like true number how many people have came in through safe countries, and most of them have come in. The boats came from France. It came from Germany, you know, from Belgium.
Yeah, but doesn't this just suggest that the whole system is utterly catastrophic?
It suggests
it's not working in any respect.
Rishi's still telling us it's a success because it's down 15% from last year.
Yeah. Rishi thinks that's hilarious. He's supposed to be good at maths.
But you know what?
It's ridiculous.
You can't blame him. At the end of the day, this country doesn't want to get rid of, doesn't want to stop.
No, they absolutely do. And
they don't.
Lewis, the Labour Party is also saying they will fix all of this, like just magically.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been saying, you know, if only the Tories followed our policy, then all of this would be solved overnight. I don't think so.
No, they will basically put people on airplanes and everything's.
Well, I don't think
they won't even have boats.
There's no answer. There's just these bullet points that sound really good, like we'll get rid of the problem. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're very low on specifics, aren't they? They've got this sense that they can just solve this. It is obviously a major crisis, and lots of people are getting very angry about it. They're going to have to do something, but they're going to have to do something tangible. I mean, when these sort of stats come out, people just become really annoyed, don't they?
They're so extraordinary, aren't they, the numbers? It's just got to a point now where it doesn't really go in. It's like when you hear about genocide numbers, you can't process it.
It's too much, exactly.
And the world knows. Just come to England. The world knows now, so next year it's going to be even worse.
Well, like you say, Lewis, it's a great country. You should stop saying what a great country England is, because you say it all the time and you're just attracting more.
You know what? I think it's Cressida being so beautiful and wonderful. She's bringing people into the country. Okay. People see me and they want to run.
There we go. We're going to move on to the Sunday Express. Next, thieving museum curators, Cressida?
Yes, some of 2,000 items stolen from British Museum have been recovered.
How did they get stolen?
Well, are we at liberty to say?
Well, we don't know, do we?
We can speculate, but some staff have been arrested.
Wow.
So it looks like...
So this is interesting because they're actually saying that they think that... Well, look, it's all suspicion at the moment. We don't know.
Yes.
They suspect that certain members of staff were involved with the thefts or colluding with some... Who knows? But they've also said, and this is an odd thing, George Osborne has said that he thinks it's possible that groupthink among the staff...
What does he mean by that?
Mean that well, basically that they would never believe that one of their own could be involved in this kind of thing.
It could mean that. Or I always think it's like he's implying... Well, I'm sure he doesn't want to imply this, but it's like it's a known... It could mean that it's a known secret, couldn't it? It could be euphemistic.
Really?
Well, I don't know. But
well, it's only little things, trinkets and jewels from the Egyptian era. It's not like the Parthenon marbles. You know, we can lose a few trinkets.
Yeah, we can lose the Parthenon marbles
too. They're saying that we can't be trusted with the Parthenon marbles now because of all this.
But the good thing about the Parthenon marbles is they're too heavy to smuggle out under an overcoat.
Well, it's not that. It's the fees of shipping, isn't it, on eBay?
Yeah.
That would be the problem.
It would be a nightmare. It wouldn't be worth buying them.
But now the question of this story is some. They found some. How many is some?
Yeah,
1, 2?
2,000 have gone missing. That strikes me as a lot.
That strikes me as a lot.
Like if 2,000 mugs had been stolen from the GBNews kitchen.
Some was found, and he said it, and this George Osborne, who's
George Osborne.
Who's George Osborne? He's the chairman of the UK Museum, which is basically the state's...
Ex-Chancellor of the Exchequer as well, but let's just throw that in.
But he's the British Museum is the state repository of lies and historic propaganda, and he went on to the BBC Radio 4's Today program, which is state propaganda.
Do you know what? I think the British Museum is wonderful, and they've got some incredible art.
Do you know what? States can do some beautiful things. The pyramids were built by the state, but that doesn't mean that it's not state propaganda. And you, more than anyone, should fight against state propaganda.
Well, I'd first have to agree with the premise that it is state propaganda, but... I'm with you.
These people know who are watching. They know they're trying to put us out of business, Andrew.
You assume that the people watching agree with you, Lewis. They rarely do.
I think they do. They can tweet me right now at Lewis Schaefer.
Yeah, you get.
They can tweet me. They know it's state. In their head, they know. They know that the big state is telling them stuff.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Sun next. A football chief claims he's being cancelled for doing Sweet FA. Lewis, what's this?
Yeah, this is disgraced. The Spanish FA chief, Luis Rubiales, banned by FIFA after Kissgate row with Jenny.
Did you see the footage of this?
I saw the footage, and I tell you something. I don't even want to comment on this because I've spoken to women about this, and they think it was a horrible incident.
So you've done your research?
I have done my research.
Yeah.
I've kissed. I was on the streets of Henley today, and I went up to quite a few women and just gave them a kiss of the same duration.
Just to see what their reaction would be. That's good research. You're putting effort in.
And it
wasn't.
You
also kissed Paul Cox on this show the other day.
I did,
you know.
and I
harassment
did.
complaint has been put in.
I've seen some tweets about this. I meant to ask you, because I still don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So I look forward to hearing Paul's side of
Now,
this.
Cressida, I think you're probably better placed to discuss this particular issue. Do you think that this was invasive?
Am I? Because I'm a Brit, and some people are saying that this is partly a cultural thing.
Oh, really?
Although I don't think that's the case, because the woman herself has said she was not into it.
Okay.
And she's saying that she's been pressurised by the Spanish FA to sort of support this guy and say, yeah, it was nothing. That's pretty dark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't think there was anything in it.
I mean, I know that there are different mores on the continent, but you know, it does look.
It doesn't look great,
does it?
And it's the lips, isn't it? It's the lips. You don't.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I think we've got a picture. There we go.
Yeah, but
you know, the thing,
overall, people are supporting her.
The thing is, surely, you know, we all have individual boundaries. I know Lewis doesn't have many boundaries, but most of us have boundaries.
Yeah.
And you would think that you would ask permission before that kind of thing, right?
No.
It's not.
You know what? Do you know what? I think I mean, I'm going to speak up for the guy, and it just
brave.
I'm going to speak up for him. Is that he's Spanish? They were a very volatile
That's not speaking
people.
up for him.
They're a volatile
That's quite patronising.
The kiss wasn't long enough to get him excited. I don't think it was a sexual kiss. It was like that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Lewis. You know, it's still there's no permission there. There's no, you know.
So people when they're playing football, they can't jump and hug each other.
No, but there's a kind of contract within a team.
Yeah.
The whole point is when you join a football team, you know there are going to be these homoerotic clinches.
Yeah.
It's part of what you sign up for. That's why I enjoy Sunday football. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the Mail on Sunday. Another bad look for the Met Police. Cressida, you got this?
Yes. Racist Met Police officer jailed for sending vile racist slurs to his ex about her new boyfriend is revealed. So this police officer, 34, Thomas Phillips, he's been jailed for 71 days for 5 text messages he sent which contained racial slurs. There were horrible messages. I didn't realise you could be jailed.
You can because of the Communications Act.
Yes.
So anything you send that's grossly offensive can be... Now, I've got a problem with that. I think that law should be repealed. I don't approve whatsoever of these sorts of messages. My question is, why wasn't he just blocked? Well, you know, I think ultimately, you know, I've been called all manner of explicit homophobic slurs online that I can't repeat now. My solution is I just block them and move on. I don't want to see those people go to jail, because the downside of free speech is horrible people say horrible things, right? I think jail time is not right.
But so the woman who this affected, she's saying she felt afraid of him. She was a police officer herself, or is. So, yeah, great question.
I get that, and, you know, harassment is illegal. And
well, exactly. You can't help but think... I agree with you. I sort of think, well, why didn't she go down the route? But I don't know.
Well, look, I get it. This is horrible behaviour. No one in their right mind would condone it. But I think it sets a dangerous precedent when people are locked away.
I think the people, and maybe why I am so valuable to this show.
Yes, as you keep telling me.
Is I bring a perspective from another country.
Now, you bring a perspective from a country with the First Amendment. Yeah. You have your free speech.
This is outrageous. And this is one more thing. If you can't say something to your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, otherwise you're going to be arrested, this is one more death of love.
I mean, he sounds like a horrible...
Oh, I think he doesn't sound that horrible. He's mad at his girlfriend for some reason.
No, he does sound horrible.
He does sound horrible.
They're in an abusive relationship.
Like, I mean, but
we don't know the truth about this.
And the probation officer has
you
said
can't quote a probation officer.
Well, let Cressida quote the probation.
The probation officer, this is in the case, the probation officer says your language and actions demonstrate you harbour those core beliefs of racial hatred as well as misogyny. And obviously he's a wrong un, but that's a bit...
Well, again, you know,
this, and I'm very uncomfortable with that.
It comes back to the hate speech.
You seem like the kind of person who would...
Well, I mean, you know, ultimately, if people want to be sexist, racist, homophobic, we shouldn't be auditing their emotions and thoughts. You know, we have to live in a free society, ultimately.
And no threat was made against this person. It was just like bad words. It wasn't even saying, I'm going to come and...
No, which is already illegal, that kind of...
Yeah, which that should be illegal.
OK, well, finally, in this section, the Sunday Express. Oh, my God. France has destroyed more wine than me on a Friday night.
Oh, yes.
Only just.
Barely.
EU pays France, EU, the European Union...
Thanks for clarifying that.
Well, just so you know, because they still...
You don't know who's watching.
You know what? You don't know who's watching this channel. Anyways.
This channel that pays your wages. Lewis,
I know.
So what's going on? So why is France destroying all their wine? I thought that's what their thing was, wine.
Because people have stopped, in Europe, people have stopped drinking wine as much. Then it's down up to 34% in Portugal and 16%.
No, that's not true, Lewis.
Okay,
look, let's look at the stats. I mean, the article makes it clear. Wine consumption has fallen 7% in Italy, 10% in Spain.
I said.
15 in France, 34 in Portugal. Look at this, though. Yeah. Meanwhile, wine production across the EU rose by 4%.
Yes, I was
In other words, it's just the winey countries, right? They're going down, and all the other countries. It's because other people are getting better at wine. We've got good wine now. Even us.
English wine.
So why should European Union tax dollars that have been collected from people in Europe go to and these are some of the biggest businesses, the wine growers. Yeah. You think that some little guy with shoes with bare feet? No, it's owned. These companies are all those big liquor companies.
Yes.
They own all the wineries.
So why are they destroying... Cressida, that's like a waste.
It's like we used to have milk lakes, isn't it? Overproduction.
With the butter mountain.
Yes, all that stuff. So they're trying to do a De Beers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Release it bit by bit. And apparently craft beer is to blame. Well, that's responsible for a lot of
So can't they give the wine away?
Well, I was
this wine, give it to the people who need it, give it to the homeless.
I don't think this wine's going to get destroyed. I think somebody from the British Museum who's out of work is probably going to be taking a trip to France.
That'll be what happens, because they're wrong uns at the British Museum, we've decided.
Absolutely wrong.
All of them.
You know what they're wrong uns, they are.
They are. I'm not going to take that back. Yeah. All of them. Right, well, we're going to move on. That is all we've got time for in this part. But after the break, we've got problematic Picasso, children's hospital gender madness, and a very special story about us lot here at GB News. Oh, yeah. See you after the weather.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Jonathan Vautry, here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. I hope you weren't caught out by some of the showers that we've had around today, certainly some heavy and thundery ones, and there's a chance still of seeing a few thunderstorms to start off this evening, but for many central eastern areas they will be easing their way off as we head into the night. They're persisting for western England, Wales, and some drizzly showers for parts of northern Scotland where it is going to remain relatively cloudy. Slightly cool night, towns and cities dropping down to 10, 12 degrees Celsius, but into single figures for some rural areas as we start off Sunday morning. Generally, the further east you are, the best of the sunshine you'll have first thing, bar the odd mist and fog patch early doors, but they'll all readily clear their way off. The showers in the west, though, will start to trundle eastwards as we head into the afternoon, generally persisting across the spine of the country into the afternoon again. Some of those could be heavy. Some more persistent cloud and rain pushing into Northern Ireland later on, and that will hold temperatures back a touch, around 15, 17 degrees Celsius. As we head into Monday, though, this area of high pressure in the Atlantic is going to gradually push its way into the UK, and that will help settle things down a touch. There is still going to be a little legacy of cloud, particularly for parts of central England into the day, so might be a bit of a grey one here. But either side of that, some sunny spells developing, a few showers around at times, but generally fewer compared to Saturday and Sunday, and so generally fine for those of us lucky to have the bank holiday Monday off. Further sunny spells and scattered showers as we head throughout the rest of the week as well. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison? I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Sunday's newspapers. We're going to jump straight back in with iNews. It looks like we're all members of a very special club.
We are. GB News is a club for the prejudiced, not a rival, says new Sky News host Trevor Phillips.
Goodness me.
Crumbs. We're in the headline. Most of this is actually just Trevor Phillips's CV. I think it's like his kind of university application personal statement.
Yeah.
It's just telling you what he's
It's just a press release. Look at all the great things I've done. In fact, the GB News reference is just a little reference at the end where someone says, oh, you know, do you think GB News is a contender, a sort of rival. He says, no, it's just a club for the prejudiced.
He's very rude to our viewers.
Sounds like he's talking about Sky there, actually, a little bit.
Well, he's conflicted, isn't he? Because one minute he's defending the BBC and saying how marvellous they are, but then he says, but you do get more editorial freedom at Sky.
Well, you get even more here.
When it comes here, mate.
Doesn't this just show... Look, he's a nice man. I met him at the House of Lords. I don't need to name drop, but, you know, I did. That's the circles I move within. But the point is, he clearly hasn't watched the channel. And there's so many of these people out there who make these sort of sweeping statements. We have so many different views on this channel. Or it's something that I think is really good about this channel.
Yeah.
Even here, we let you on, for God's sake.
This is, you know what? This guy, I haven't met him, so I'm going to say something nasty about him. He's just a propagandist. He worked for the BBC. He's a propagandist for the BBC. He wants to go back and be in charge of the BBC at some point in the future. The BBC is the state propaganda agency.
Well, I'm going to stick up for him a little bit because I think he's actually a very, very talented
He probably
individual.
is. He's a smart guy. He's gone far in the world. But at the end of the day, if you work for the state, you are a state hack. You're a state functionary. What makes them... Listen, I work for you. I work for GB News. So I'm a
but you don't
too.
say what we want you to say. Good Lord, if you did, it would make my life a whole much easier.
But you know what? I make it better for the station.
You do.
People go, well, that's a viewpoint, and it just shows how
Cressida, what is this all about? Like this weird idea that GB News only presents one point of view. It's just factually wrong.
But why can't it not?
As you said, mostly you say to people, oh, what don't you like about the channel? And then they can't tell you a single thing that they've seen. And of course we have a wide variety of...
But why should we have a wide variety?
Because otherwise it would just be one narrow world view.
Yes, and let the people watch it. It's like watching classical music FM, whatever it is, whatever that station is, where it's all classical all the time.
So what are you suggesting, that classic FM should have some sort of drill music every
No, it should just be classical music, and people will only want to listen to classical music.
Right.
We should be the voice of the opposition to state propaganda.
Well, we're not, Lewis. We are an open channel with all sorts of viewpoints represented, even yours. You should be grateful. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Sunday Times now. So what's this about? Multiple genders, this old chestnut, Lewis.
Oh, this is... You know what? I don't know what to say about this because it's a nightmare. The Great Ormond Street, according to the Sunday Times, Great Ormond Street staff learn 150 ways to express gender because they're being trained by Global Butterflies, which is this kind of Stonewall-y thing, by this other thing. And basically because the Tavistock was closed, right? And because the Tavistock was closed, they had to move what the Tavistock was doing, which was castration of children, which is...
The Tavistock wasn't actually castrating children. We have to be very clear about this. It was prescribing puberty blockers, which often lead to cross-sex hormones and sometimes irreversible
and sometimes,
surgery.
exactly. So sterilization.
Sterilization.
Whatever. I'm glad you came in and said maybe this is... They said it's true.
I'm just being... I think accuracy is important, but you're right. The Tavistock is shut down. The problem is that we still have all of these external bodies, you know, groups like Mermaids, groups like Stonewall, who come into these various companies and public and civic institutions and public bodies and teach them an ideology rather than the truth.
This is supposed to be medical. This is supposed to be medical.
Firstly, this is a children's hospital, right?
Right, it's a children's hospital. We had the Cass report. We, society, decided this isn't a good idea, so we're not going to do that. And it's like whack-a-mole. Another one's just popped up. I don't understand why that's...
The trouble is there are a lot of these high priests around.
You're focusing on the wrong... You're focusing on the wrong thing. The fact is... sorry.
You're not sorry.
I am not sorry.
No,
because this is horrible. This is
Cressida, I think you should interrupt Lewis a lot more and not be repentant about it.
This is an argument for having weapons. No, Global Butterflies. So Global Butterflies...
Did she just threaten me?
Oh, my goodness.
Cressida, Global Butterflies.
They're talking about transgender Marxism in a medical context. Why would you have that level of politics? I'm referring, as quickly as I can, to some of the resources that are suggested for the hospital staff.
Yes.
So they're directing them towards political material. Surely, in a medical setting, that's just inappropriate.
Well, you know, it's a belief system, you know, and where are they going to stop there? Why not get some old priest in? Why not get some hook-handed Islamic radical?
Exactly. The point is, I'm going to make the point. The point is the Tavistock Centre has been closing, and who's going to be doing what the Tavistock Centre did? Great Ormond Street Hospital, which has been beyond reproach. People have loved that place.
Yeah, but they don't know what they're letting in. I mean, this is the real problem.
They do know. What do you think? Do you think they're stupid? They're doctors.
I agree with
they
Andrew.
don't. It's like with Stonewall. Lots of people think that well-intentioned people are saying, let's get Stonewall Stonewall and teach about diversity. That's a good thing, right? They don't know that what Stonewall does is it teaches gender identity ideology, which is a basically pseudo-religious.
You're basically calling the Great Ormond Street idiots, and I am not going that far. These people, if they, whatever it is, these people should be boycotted. Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Well, you can't really do that if you have a sick child. You can't just boycott the hospital.
You know what it is? No, but it's not that people are giving money to this thing. It's one of the major. I don't know how many tens of billions of millions of dollars.
Is that a fair point?
Well. Yeah, you can't boycott a hospital.
Why can't you? You can boycott giving them money, and that'll.
The trouble is, this is everywhere. It's also in the NHS. Right, yeah. It's across the NHS, right? So this is. But the
NHS isn't collecting money through private campaigns.
Because if the Hippocratic Oath says do no harm, you've got a responsibility. You can't just bring anybody in and say, well, it was an external body. Yeah. So I'll meet you on that.
And particularly now, this group, Global Butterflies, are talking about puberty blockers and saying that they talk about the idea of detransition being a fake issue. Well, I'm sorry, I've spoken to detransitions who have no genitals left, their lives have been ruined, their sexual life has been ruined. It's not a non-issue.
And Great Ormond Street is going to be doing this.
Even if... So, for example, Chloe Cole is a detransition person who talks about this a lot. And even if her case is anomalous, which I don't think it is, why wouldn't you want a really rigorous system to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else?
They're also talking about puberty blockers being a fake issue. Well, it's now very, very clear. I mean, the studies are increasingly showing how dangerous these things potentially are. Yeah. There was a good article in the Herald the other day about why they should be banned. And I think that is the way the tide is going. More and more people are realising the dangers involved. It's incredibly dangerous to get groups like Global
We are living. I've been reading a book about a guy who is a scientist.
Very specific.
Yes, a specific scientist who was living in Nazi Germany during World War II while the horrors were going on, and he was just working on his thing. So he wasn't doing anything that was nefarious, but he was working on his thing. And he should have, and his family was being killed at the time. And he could have left the country, but he didn't leave. This Great Ormond Street, if they are bringing these people in, then they are unfit to take care of children.
OK, very strong response from Louis.
Oh, that is too strong. I want to apologise for that.
Don't make a point and then apologise for
it was way too strong. But it's...
No, it's all about the rich tapestry of the show. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the Sunday Telegraph with a little something for the ladies, Cressida.
Nice. John Lewis cuts price of period pants by 20% in the End the Tax campaign. So
what are period?
I had to Google this. I've heard of them and I've always thought, ugh. I think they are pants, proper underwear with a gusset so thick that you can menstruate into them all day, and I think you wash them.
You make it sound like a fun thing to do.
I didn't choose this story. So anyway, the tampon tax was abolished in 2021.
Yes.
Somebody pointed out that there shouldn't really be VAT on what they're saying. It's not a luxury product. It's something women have to buy. So fine, that got abolished.
But that makes sense with the sanitary products, right? Because they're not non-essential. You can't choose not to mention.
Exactly. I would argue that these pants are non-essential.
Well, the fact that you'd never heard of them would suggest that they are non-essential.
But it's not really the point. This is the point for me. It says it comes as campaigners push for the abolition of the so-called tampon tax to go further. They want it to be exempt from all products relating to women's periods. So what does that include? Chocolate, wine, Sex in the City box sets? Like, I don't know. What do you need for your period? I find that quite funny.
OK. Lewis, you're not an expert on periods, are you?
I am, actually, because I asked about it. I said, can you have period poverty?
Yes.
Can there be poverty? And then I've been told that a month's worth of cheapo pads cost £1.50, and a month's worth of tampons cost about £2.
Yeah.
So that
I think it's part of this. Let's say that women are victims all the time. It's all this, endless signs on public transport saying don't touch women.
OK, well, let's move on now to The Observer. Was Picasso a misogynist, Lewis?
No.
OK, that's solved. This is actually interesting, though, isn't it,
It's
Cressida?
very interesting,
We've heard a lot about Picasso being a misogynist. His grandson is now saying no. All of the women in his life, he was a womanizer, he was a philanderer, but all of the women in his life knew exactly what he was when they went into it. That's very interesting.
So it says his life was full of contradictions. Picasso's grandson defends the artist's behaviour towards women. we always focus on the men, and there's this endless, Me Too campaigns and so on and so on, and people go on and on about re-educating men, and I just think that is focusing your efforts entirely in one place. Wouldn't you be better off if I had a 17-year-old daughter and I was guiding her in the world? I'd say watch out for people like Picasso, because this is what they do. And there's lots of literature about this.
Do you think that there is a patronising element to this, basically saying
Yes.
the women had no agency here?
They won't be happy until women are children who aren't allowed out without a chaperone, or, you'll all have to do women training before you're allowed to work with me, or I don't know where this kind of thing ends, but...
We actually did do women training. You don't know about it, Cressida, but we did it. It was all right, wasn't it? I think
it was all right.
Off that day.
It was all right. We just looked at pictures.
OK, we're going to cut it right there. That is it for part 3. Don't go to sleep yet, because after the break, we've got Journeys into the Great Beyond, How to Get a Date When You're 28, and sexy, sexy cartoon characters. You won't want to miss it.
Was that too much?
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train. Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Andrew Doyle. This is your first look at Sunday's newspapers. Now, we're going to stick with the Mail on Sunday. How does a woman ask a guy out? Cressida.
OK, I'm 28 and perpetually single, so I'm going to start making the first move and ask out the men I like. But how do I do it without coming across brash and masculine? So this woman's 28 years old and she's decided to find out how she can ask out men, and she's gone to Mumsnet to do it, which I just think is marvellous.
They are the experts.
And she's got some logic, because she's saying, well, they're all married. What did they do? And so she hasn't talked to any men yet.
Cressida, am I going a bit mad? But women asking men out. There's nothing new about this. Like, this has been going on since dawn of time.
I guess it's new for her. I mean, we're all very confused about all this stuff.
It's new for her, but that doesn't make it a news story.
Men are scared of women. She's sitting around waiting to be asked out. It's the death of love.
It's the death of love.
Lewis, you think women should... Have you been asked out by women?
I'm getting married because this girl is like totally... This is what they have to do. They have to do because a guy kisses a football player and he's basically put to death. Is that you can't...
I don't think that happened, Lewis.
You can. This story is so true, it's ridiculous. First of all, women are used to being asked. They used to be asked. Men were never asked out.
Shouldn't they? Why should there be rules about who asks?
There shouldn't be rules,
evolution
but
decides. And David Buss is an evolutionary psychologist who's written about this. Men and women have just, on average, you can't speak for an individual, on average have got very different attitudes towards these things. And it's millennia old.
OK, well, look, we're going to move on to iNews. And what's this one? This is another sexual identity. Lewis, I can't keep up. There's too many.
It's too many, but this is in Japan, so really that's not real, really, because those people in Japan aren't real. It's,
No, Lewis, they are real.
They're not real.
I've met Japanese people. They're very much real.
OK, let's just say they're real. Say they're human.
OK.
And, but they are human, but they're not like us. They're very different people.
Well, they're coming up with this idea of fictosexual. What does fictosexual mean?
It means some guy who's not having a girlfriend and he picks an image and he says, that's my wife in real.
So he marries an animation.
In his mind, he marries an animation.
So this is like marrying Minnie Mouse.
Marrying Minnie Mouse, which is actually good. You're marrying some kind of cartoon feature, so he'll never know what it's like to not be able to see your kids over Christmas. You'll never know what it's like to pay for a woman's mistakes.
Now, look, Cressida, the thing about this stuff, when they keep inventing these sexual categories, fictosexual, right, it implies that they've sort of been through a struggle, like homosexual, right, for instance.
Yes.
But the fetishists are not an oppressed minority.
No, exactly. And also, I mean, what I think this means is it's somebody who's very, very introverted.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he could just do this privately? I don't know. It's very strange.
He wants some legitimacy.
It's very odd. But look, we've got time for just one more story. This is in The Sun, a fascinating near-death experience. Cressida, what's going on?
Shiv Goel, I died for 7 minutes before being brought back to life. Now I've painted what I saw.
So he's actually painted the afterlife?
Well, so he says, but he said he died for 7 minutes, and I don't think that's technically possible. I think he just didn't die. And I guess he had a dream. We've got the... Yes. I guess he had a dream, and he painted it.
So he painted his dream?
Well,
you don't know. That could be heaven, what we're seeing there on the back screen. That could be an image of what heaven looks like. Maybe it is just a kaleidoscopic mess.
Yeah, but he died, and he had 7 minutes. I know if I had 7 minutes and I was dead, I'd maybe ask God, was it true about the Kennedys? Who killed the Kennedys? I'd ask, is Hitler in heaven or hell?
You'd say, aren't I good-looking?
I would say to God, I would maybe yell at God. I'd tell God, I'd say, what do you know? How come you didn't treat me nicer?
I think you need to hope there isn't an afterlife, Lewis, because you know where you're heading, don't you?
You know what? Probably. People are mad at me as it is. I'll tell you something. This is a bit like dying.
You know,
I would like a doctor to tell me what the definition of death is, which I didn't think I'd ever have to ask.
You didn't believe this? Is that what you're saying?
How can you die for 7 minutes?
You can't die for 7 minutes.
He didn't die.
He didn't die. OK, we've solved that one. But, you know, reasonably nice painting. The show is nearly over. Let's have another quick look at Sunday's front pages. So the Mail on Sunday is leading with secret Labour plan to charge drivers by the mile. The Sunday Telegraph has Reeves no wealth tax under Labour. That's a promise. The Sunday Times has damning email told of chaos on Letby ward. Sunday Express, PM life to mean life for vilest killers. The Sunday Mirror, Letby's bosses get out of jail free card. And the Daily Star has some nonsense about nudists in Sherwood Forest. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you ever so much to my guests, Lewis Schaefer and Cressida Wetton. And please do remember that Headliners is going to be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, do stick around for the breakfast show. And I promise you tomorrow you're not going to have Lewis Schaefer coming in here with his ridiculous conspiracy theories and nonsense, for which I sincerely apologise.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. I hope you weren't caught out by some of the showers that we've had around today, certainly some heavy and thundery ones, and there's a chance still of seeing a few thunderstorms to start off this evening, but for many central eastern areas they will be easing their way off as we head into the night, though persisting for western England, Wales and some drizzly showers for parts of northern Scotland where it is going to remain relatively cloudy. Slightly cool night, towns and cities dropping down to 10, 12 degrees Celsius, but into single figures for some rural areas as we start off Sunday morning. Generally, the further east you are, the best of the sunshine you'll have first thing, bar the odd mist and fog patch early doors, but they'll all readily clear their way off. The showers in the west, though, will start to trundle eastwards as we head into the afternoon, generally persisting across the spine of the country into the afternoon. Again, some of those could be heavy. Some more persistent cloud and rain pushing into Northern Ireland later on, and that will hold temperatures back a touch around 15, 17 degrees Celsius. As we head into Monday, though, this area of high pressure in the Atlantic is going to gradually push its way into the UK, and that will help settle things down a touch. There is still going to be a little legacy of cloud, particularly for parts of central England into the day, so might be a bit of a grey one here, but either side of that some sunny spells developing, a few showers around at times, but generally fewer compared to Saturday and Sunday, and so generally fine for those of us lucky to have the bank holiday Monday off. Further sunny spells and scattered showers as we head throughout the rest of the week as well. Bye-bye.
Looks like things